live stream. Okay, so copy streaming link. Do you guys see the live on YouTube in the top corner there at the very top? There
Yes.
may be a chevron pull down for the link. I think it's.
Oh, there it is. I see it.
Oh.
I don't, but I'll trust you.
Okay, so what I'll do is I'll put that in the chat. Copy streaming link chat. Vanessa. Hang on, what's going on here? Chat. To everyone.
Okay.
There we go. Okay, so there's the link. I'm going to admit all now.
I'm posting in the Facebook group.
All right.
Okay, everybody.
Looks like we're ready to go.
How many people? 18?
Wow.
Who do we have
Hi,
so
everybody.
far? Thanks so much for joining us. We're just getting all the technical ducks in a row here. Krista Sampson's here from the editing team, with the writers' room. Brent as well. Who else have we got? Raph, thanks for joining us. Good to have you with us. Chef Mike Benninger is being a little shy with the camera right now, I notice, as is Antoinette, Crystal, Mark, Dr. Proximo, and Derek. Dr. Proximo joining us who knows where right now. Let's admit everyone else, and I'm going to go in. I'm going to change the settings so that, I can't change it once it's started. So I have to continue to admit people to the big show. But it looks like we're all here. Derek Dresser's here. Derek, good to see you again. Awesome. Who else do we have here? Oh, we got somebody who's anonymous next to Derek as well. Okay. So, Alan, are we ready for the big show? What do you think?
I think we are. I think we are.
Let's do this thing. Dr. Proximo currently in Montreal. So here's the way it's going to work. If you've got a comment or a question, throw it into the chat. And when we mention your name, just take your mic off mute, and away we go. So look at all the people who've shown up for the big finale.
All the people
live stream
that we, or specifically I, am disappointing.
Yes, more you than me. You know, when I asked the members of the World's Worst Intern program to write in and tell us a few things about, their feelings about the show, it was all about you, man.
Oh, well, okay, here I have to come clean. Now, this is the second time we put the show on hold. First time it was you because you had other things going on. This time it's me because my week has turned into a series of 12-hour days, and there's no end in sight, and I just can't devote. I have to prune the tree a little bit, and unfortunately this is one of the branches that have to go. I just don't have the bandwidth. I just don't have the time to contribute properly. Michael does so much work on the show. You have no idea. He drives everything. And if anybody has a right to complain about having too much to do, it's him. But I'm going to take that route. I just have too much going on that I just can't keep up.
This is a good problem to have, particularly in the world of COVID-19. What I've experienced, and it seems you are as well, is the world has recognized we can't necessarily meet in person. Otherwise we might have had this event at one of those bars like we had done previous shows.
Yeah.
But that people are pivoting to podcasting, and they're pivoting to remote video, and that's a lot of what you're doing right now.
It is. There's a tremendous, the list of projects that I have on the go right now. I mean, I'm dealing with the Elma Combo. I'm dealing with a couple of documentary series. I'm dealing with an event space in Buffalo. I'm dealing with a bunch of stuff with Global News. I'm dealing with a children's book that I wrote.
Well, hang on. You've got a children's book you're working on?
No, it's done. It's coming out in April, and I think it should be out in January. And it's based on my Science of Rock Museum exhibit. So we've turned that into a children's book for people between the ages of 7 and 14, focusing mainly on boys who you have a hard time convincing them to read anything. So yeah, that's coming out. So I'm gonna have to deal with that.
Okay. I'm sorry. I gotta ask, how can you write a children's book? You have dogs.
I know, it's amazing, isn't it? No, we it's me and the wife, and we managed to get in a professional children's book writer to help us with some of the language. We did all the research and laying everything out. So we tried, believe me, I tried to write in the language of a 7 to 14-year-old, and I failed miserably. So they had to bring somebody in.
Back up, 7 to 14. that's not a children's book. You're talking young adult novel here, my friend.
Well, it's not a novel. It's called The Science of Song, I think. The science behind your favorite music. And it is, well, I'm 7. You're still a kid, right?
Yeah, you're absolutely still a kid at 7, but you're a very different kid than someone who would be reading a children's board book. That's for sure.
I am not the publisher. They simply agreed to publish the book. So here you go.
All right. So I suppose for the benefit of those who are watching the big show who aren't familiar with a lot of the people who make things happen behind the scenes, let's first of all bring in Vanessa Azzoli, who is our ace producer on the big show. Vanessa, thank you so much for everything you've done.
We did not
You're
have
welcome.
Vanessa for the first time through. We brought her in for the reboot of the show, and she has done an amazing job getting us guests, keeping everything on track. What?
Nothing? No, keep going.
Was that it? Where we? What?
No, I just say that. It must have been a glitch.
Okay, fine. And then we got into Cosmo Music a couple of times, which was great.
Mhm.
Yes. So Vanessa, tell us a little bit about that experience.
Well, I mean, I'm the marketing manager at Cosmo Music, so it was a natural partnership between Geeks and Beats and Cosmo, and it's been kind of funny because I do kind of the social media on both sides. So there's been more than one occasion where I will tweet from one of the accounts and then retweet from the other account, and it's just me doing both. But nobody else has to know that, although now everyone does. But yeah, so I mean, we do an annual, or we did up until this year, an annual music festival, and so you guys attended 2 years now, and last year you guys had a really good spot right at the front entrance.
Yes.
And you guys got the best footage of Dave Grohl and Geddy Lee showing up, which was a surprise at the Cosmo Music Festival last year.
How
yeah.
does that sort of thing happen? How do you get Dave Grohl and Geddy Lee to show up for something?
So Geddy Lee was planned. We knew Geddy Lee was coming because we were one of the stops on his book signing tour. Alan did the event in Oakville, I believe, right?
Yes, I did.
Yeah, so we were one of the one of those stops, and we knew that was going to happen. And the night before Cosmo Music Fest happened, Geddy's management reached out and they said, "Hey, can Geddy bring a friend?" And then we were like, "Yeah, of course he can. Like that's fine, that's perfectly fine." And they were like, "You guys have security, right?" And so we had no idea what was happening. And I was up in the music hall because we have music clinics going on the day, and then I got a text from my boss saying, Dave Grohl just showed up. And I was like, that's not a friend. That's when you say I'm bringing a friend, that's not the friend that you're expecting. But Dave Grohl drove Geddy Lee.
Yeah, he was his Uber driver, or Fuber driver.
Fuber driver.
Yeah. So if you missed it, what happened was we were set up outside this, I guess, security staff door, and a big black Suburban pulls up, and I just look over my shoulder and I go, "Oh, Geddy's." Wait, who's that driving? And then I look at that. No, it can't be. And then I get up and I move over to the door where Dave is getting out, and he looks at me. He goes, "Can't stop, gotta pee," and runs inside.
Yes. Wait, how is it that Dave Grohl is the one doing the driving when Geddy Lee is the Canadian who probably has the driver's license?
Fair. What had happened, and the reason why he was there is Dave Grohl, and it hasn't come out yet. We keep on begging management to give us something, but Dave Grohl was doing a documentary, and so part of his documentary, his mom wrote a book, and then part of the book, she became friends with Geddy Lee's mom. So there was that whole partnership, and so I think our festival was part of his documentary because he had a filming crew along with him that day. So we haven't received the footage yet. We're over a year now. So I don't know. I mean, you guys are probably going to be in it because
it's
you
very
guys.
possible.
Yeah.
Yeah. His mom wrote a book. His mom, Jenny, wrote a book called From Cradle to Stage.
Yeah.
Which is all about being the mom of a rock star. And she got along very, very well with Geddy's aged mother. And they were in Toronto to shoot an interview with Mrs. Lee. Mrs. Weintraub, excuse me.
Yeah. Amber Healy, of course, one of our segment producers and writers on The Big Show. And Vanessa, you and Amber have quite a relationship working back and forth behind the scenes on The Big Show. Amber, good to have you with us. Thank you for everything
Happy to
you've
be
done.
here. It's been an absolute joy, and I'm happy to be here tonight, even though I hate cameras and hate the sound of my own voice.
You know what? And Alan, you can back me up on this, but pretty much everybody hates the sound of their own voice, even within the industry, with the exception of a couple of people.
Oh, yeah. The hardcore narcissists, they're the ones who love their own voice. Everybody else hates it. It's a totally natural thing.
When I first got into radio, I job shadowed the afternoon DJ at CKFM 99.9, playing Toronto's music. And every step of the way, at age 16, he would turn to me and say, I was the 16-year-old, not him. And he would say, "Are you sure this is what you want to do?"
Yeah, okay.
And it took me like 3 years in the business to really understand that, yeah, this is what we want to do. Amber has spent a remarkable amount of time in the world of journalism as well. And she, like me, has just concluded that, you know what? There is a life outside of this line of work.
And it's better. It's a lot better. Nothing against the places that have employed and paid me along the way, because, that's important. But working in broadcast before changing jobs this last time, it's just not for me. I do miss going back to the voicing for a second. There was a wonderful guy who sat next to me, and I would love when he would track his stories for voiceover parts, because he would turn into radio guy and he would lower his voice and do the enunciations. And it was just the best part of my day. But yeah, I'm out of that part of journalism, at least for the foreseeable forever future.
Okay, wait a second. I have a question for you. What was your broadcasting career? I didn't know anything about this.
Yeah, I was a digital producer at a cable station here in town.
Oh, okay. All right.
In the town
For Buffalo, man. The closest
Buffalo.
non-Canadian city. I can see Fort Erie when I drive past the Peace Bridge. And for the past 6 or so months, it's been breaking my heart every single time, because I can't get over to see my friends or my bands, and they can't come over here, and it really super sucks.
One of the things that I learned about Buffalo didn't happen until after I had driven to Buffalo and seen the city firsthand. Because as a Torontonian, as a child, you grow up watching Buffalo television for the Saturday morning cartoons. And then you get a little bit older and you see the promos for the newscast coming up. And Torontonians always like to make fun of Buffalonians for, what's with your city? It's on fire.
It's always burning.
You're talking probably of Irv Weinstein and his very colorful ways of talking about fire eaters and flame bugs the other things he would. Smoke eaters, that's it, yeah.
That's what. But what I learned after I had actually visited, after years of going, what's with that city and their fires, is that your city is made out of fucking wood.
Yeah.
So much of the infrastructure of that city is made of wood, whereas in Toronto, it's brick. Toronto doesn't have fires leading the newscast because it doesn't have the same decimation that it does in Buffalo. And then when I was mocking a Buffalonian about the fires, they told me that there's a Torontonian version of it too.
There is?
Yes. Amber, do you know what it is? What the big Toronto news is, that Buffalo's news is fires?
I honestly don't know.
It's accidents on the 401.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
Okay.
That makes sense.
They're like, what is with you people? You can't drive.
He was. It's true.
Not a lie.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
I would give anything to be stuck in Toronto traffic right now, by the way. I know.
What we're looking at here is the most viewed article on geeksandbeats.com.
Wow.
What was it?
Sharif Don't Like It, a brief history of the Clash's Rock the Casbah.
Oh, okay. Interesting.
Every single day on geeksandbeats.com behind the scenes, it is the most viewed article.
Is that so?
Yeah, and it's Amber's article.
Well, gee, thanks.
We don't have anything to say to that.
They're always fun to research. I mean, when you take a song like that everybody knows, you think everything's been written about it, and you just try to do your best to sort of piece things together and make it fun, make it interesting, take those threads that are out there and put them into one. And apparently it's working because people still like it.
Now,
Like Sharif.
regardless as to what happens with geeksandbeats.com, that is always going to exist on the internet.
Well, good.
Nothing ever goes away on the internet.
Well, I don't know. We're getting a lot of complaints from the hosting provider for geeksandbeats.com that we're well over our file allocation.
Well,
I'm not going to blame Krista Sampson for that, but she certainly has played a role in it as one of our writers on the big show. Krista, good to have you with us. Thank you for everything you've done
Great
for us.
to be here. Yes, thanks for having me. And the whole experience has been amazing. This was sort of the start of my, I guess, writing career. I think I saw it like Alan, I follow Alan on Twitter, and he sent out a tweet saying, any writers want to write for a podcast? And I thought, okay, so that's how
Vanessa, by the way. We hijacked Alan's Twitter account, and on many occasions over the course of the last 8 seasons, it was a bit of a problem.
Which reminds me, I'm going to have to change my password.
Well, thank you, Vanessa. So that's how I got started. And same like Amber, I mean, there were so many things that I wrote about that I had no clue about, especially the tech stuff, because I am like, I've always joked that I'm the least techie person to write for a tech-based podcast. The music stuff I was sort of more interested or knew more about, but some of the tech stuff was completely over my head. But I thought, okay, I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna research it. So it was a lot of fun.
So Vanessa, you were the one responsible for shepherding the writers, and many of them are here with us tonight. Do we have a thumbs up for all the other writers who are with us here tonight?
Absolutely.
I see Shane, I see Derek,
Shane's
among others. Brent is here as well. That's just amazing. So tell us a little bit about that experience. How did Vanessa help you in that world? Krista?
Sorry, that was I wasn't sure.
It's a Zoom call. You're on mute.
I think it was just getting into it and learning how to, like whether we were pitching something or she would email me and say, okay, well, I've got this thing. Do you think you can write about it? And even though in my head, sometimes I was like, I don't know if I can, but I'll give it a shot. So Vanessa was always very supportive and like collaborative, just working with everybody else on the team. So it was awesome.
Let's say hello to some of the people who are in fact joining us here as members of the World's Worst Intern Program. I asked people to set off some sort of comment. Tell me, what is it that Geeks and Beats meant to you? So Antoinette Van den Dickenberg, who I think it took 8 seasons. Antoine, I think you're with us, by the way, so take your mic off mute there. It took us 8 seasons, Alan, to be able to pronounce Antoinette Van den Dickenberg. Antoinette, did we get it right? Oh, she's not here.
Oh, damn.
We'll
never know. It'll be a mystery for the ages.
She says, when I asked her, what was it about the show that she liked, she said, both your voices and speaking manner are very pleasant. I have quit many podcasts because I just couldn't get past the nasal sounds, lisps, and so on. This was one of the things that I talked a lot about when I talked to clients about podcasting, is that the signal to noise ratio is just crap.
Which part of it?
Well, the fact that anyone with a $39 Logitech
I see what you're saying.
microphone can start a podcast.
Which is true. In fact, I did something for the Manitoba Podcast Festival yesterday. And one of the things that we were talking about is equipment. And you do need to spend a certain amount of money on equipment so you sound good.
It's not just the equipment. Like you've got it, I've got it. These are sound absorption panels in the studio that ensure that the sounds don't bounce around the room and create that echo effect.
Yeah, you don't need to spend a lot of money, but you do need to take care when it comes to making sure that you have the appropriate audio quality, which means a good microphone, a good recording software with a decent computer with enough RAM, and it is in your best interest to hang, towels or blankets or something on the wall just to get rid of that reverb and echo.
Dr. Proximo points out on the Zoom call so far, we have had our first cat sighting. I suspect that's Sean Jete's cat, our ace director.
That's possible.
How are you, man?
I'm good, thanks. Good, thanks.
I had been going to the Consumer Electronics Show in Las Vegas for, I think at that point, more than a decade for CTV and the Business News Network. But it wasn't until we went down, Alan Cross, Michael Hainsworth, and Sean Jete, that I have to say, I actually enjoyed CES for the first time.
Well, I'm glad to hear that because it makes me feel so warm inside. But it was a fantastic time. I think one of the highlights had to be the David Lee Roth show, amongst other things.
Which I bought extra tickets to by mistake. That's a long story.
And then try to pawn it off on us.
Yeah. And
What the hell?
And I don't think you ever paid me for them. That's okay.
We paid
we
you
did
for
so.
those.
Are you sure?
Okay, so here's the situation. Sean and I are sitting side by side on the plane on the way back from CES. And I turned to him and I said, okay, so I got an idea. Let's just pretend that Alan gifted us the tickets and just be so effusive about how fabulous it was that he did such a wonderful thing. And it was halfway through the flight, you got up, turned around and faced us because you were in the seat in front and went, about the tickets. And it took all the energy in us not to bust out laughing at the time.
I know.
But we were paying for it from day one. We knew it, but we were like, let's just see how far we could push this.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
And then Andy Barrier, who has yet to join us on the big show here, our West Coast bureau chief, he was in on it as well. And Sean, I think you and I with him and with Andy, the three of us did a sort of a post-show review. I'm going to dig it up. But Alan, we couldn't find you anywhere.
Where was this? In Vegas?
In Vegas.
Right after the David Lee Roth
show.
No, because you guys moved. You went to some different seats, and by the time the show was over, you were gone.
What?
Yes.
Sean, I'm looking stuff up. You defend us here.
I went looking for you guys, and you had vanished into thin air.
We were right outside the same doors that we came in.
No,
We stood there and did a Twitter video. We have video evidence.
I'm looking for it.
But if you knew where I was, because I was in the original seat, why didn't you come and find me?
Why does that? I think we just ran in. We figured we'd run into you in the lobby somewhere, but I think you laser beamed out of there.
No, I did not. I looked around for you guys. You were in
really?
No, I thought you guys. I thought, okay, great. I gave you a ticket. Now what happens?
I'm sorry to hear that because that
and
was
now the show's over.
Show. It was thanks to you getting the tickets.
Oh, okay.
So we wanted to get your word, especially on that video, the video review.
But then you guys went and hung out with the band.
Well, we didn't really hang out with the band. We saw the band at the bar, and I approached the guitar player and asked him if he would, the guitar player, and asked him if he would do a quick interview with us. And he said, David Lee Roth's management has that pretty locked down. We're not really allowed to talk to anybody.
Okay.
Of course, we were going to ask, so what kind of a dick is David Lee Roth to work with?
That would have been a very good question.
Yeah, it's something he wouldn't want to answer, I'm sure.
No.
But anyway.
Well, let's talk a little bit about that, because that was the thing that got me the most was at the very beginning of the David Lee Roth experience. He came out and he was Mr. Vegas and it was amazing. Yep. And I thought he recognizes his audience. He's going for his audience. But Alan, within minutes, it was evident to me anyway that this was a performer who pulled it out of his ass every night and relied on his backup team.
He certainly did it the night that we saw it. Now, that was the first night of his residency at House of Blues. And his band was really good. Like Fake Eddie on guitar was excellent. Wow. Yeah. Very, very good. He phoned it in because he was walking around with a glass of whiskey the entire night. He's 60 some odd years old. He couldn't do the high kicks anymore. His vocals were way off. There was one song, and I don't remember which one, but there was a woman sitting next to me, and he hit a couple of really bump notes, and she looked at me, and I looked at her, and we just went, oh, dear. Oh, this is awful. So after that point, we decided that we would just, watch the show for its car crash value.
Yeah, car crashes. Yeah, it really was.
Oh, it's terrible.
So with 596 views, here's the video. Maybe you'll hear it.
So we're having a debrief of the David Lee Roth concert. Yeah. I felt like I was in the mountains and I found myself.
You had a religious experience.
Yes, it was pretty much. Like my life is changed.
First time seeing him?
First time.
Did you ever see Van Halen?
No, but I know.
Okay. All right.
So you had a remarkably happy experience.
Yes.
You really rocked it out.
Stop smiling.
However, you as a musician.
Well, he's a musician too. He hasn't.
I just saw this. I didn't see many.
Every single mistake that was made.
Listen,
this man here.
Oh my God. He couldn't hit a fucking cue for the life of him. Like, just every time it came to his turn to sing, he looked like, oh shit, is it my turn to sing? Yes, it's your fucking turn to sing.
Okay, Oregon, California girls, right?
Yeah.
Most famous. How do you
Apologize for my profanity.
How do you forget?
How do you forget the lyrics to California Girls?
Yes.
You know how you forget? You get busy in your own head and you're looking around, you're doing your David Lee Roth moves. Focus.
He had the moves, and his voice still had the power.
Yes. Well, he did. You know, I think he eased into it. I don't think he sang a lot in the first half hour of the show.
There was an awful lot of talk.
Yes. And I think he was easing into it. And
it was the booze. It was the booze. Because he can't.
Stagehand came on and refilled his tumbler with 4 fingers halfway through Panama.
We don't know what it was.
It reminds me of when my grandfather used to go to the bar and he goes, 2 fingers.
Yeah.
So,
that's a good idea.
I had a blast.
Yes.
At the end of it, you guys?
I had a religious experience.
In the end, I really enjoyed. You know what I really enjoyed? I'll tell you, his band was fantastic.
Yes, they were tight. They were
tight as hell, and they made the show. And he picked it up near the end. He definitely performed about 4 songs that were fantastic. He did really well beginning to end.
Where's Alan Cross?
Yes. We lost Alan, the man that actually got.
Probably writing a review.
Probably writing a review.
Right?
You did, didn't you?
Did actually, but
that was directly across from the doors that we entered. We came right out the same doors, and literally spitting distance.
Yes.
And we figured we'd run into you there. We figured we'd catch you walking out the door, or you'd be ahead of us.
You could have tried harder, is what I'm saying. Well, I'm kind of glad you didn't, because then I just went back to the hotel.
Because it was 3 drunks doing a live streaming Twitter video. That's all that was.
That's true.
I have to confess, at the end of it, I looked back at Sean and I went, "Can you tell I'm high as fuck?" He's like,
How can I tell I was high as fuck?
Yeah, exactly. Speaking of which, the internet's favorite dad has joined us now, longtime friend of the show. And the reason why we're concerned that Stuart Reynolds might in fact be in that condition is we can't see his face, with exception for the slits that resemble his eyeballs. Stuart, thanks for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me. And it's an honor to be here. But in a large gathering like this, I feel safer with the mask on, and I'm used to it now. It's fine. Cheers to everyone here. It hasn't presented a problem at all.
It's filtering the drink for you, isn't it?
It's got a really nice cottony taste. It's nice. It's good.
And this mask.
Yeah.
This is a custom. First of all, nice with the tumbler, the custom brittle star
like
tumbler.
that.
Yeah, that's
Listen,
nice.
I don't screw around, Hainsworth.
As is the mask. Alan and I talked about we needed to get Geeks and Beats masks.
Yeah, we missed this one.
And my idea was that the mask, instead of what you've got there, which is the 3 hearts, the I Love Canada,
it's not
happiness. It's
peace. Not I Love Canada.
No, well, to me
it's
it is.
Peace, Love Canada.
Oh,
where the happiness is replaced.
I don't like the dismissive tone that Alan took there.
See, it's a good thing that this is running out of gas, because, well, obviously I've overstayed my welcome.
Well, Alan and I were going to get these masks made up, and my idea was that we should get masks of our own faces that you, as a fan, could wear.
Yeah, and then I could become Michael Hainsworth. Who wouldn't want to be Michael
Who would not
Hainsworth?
want to be me? I'm going to make you co-host on this.
It's nice when you put a joke out there and there's no actual joke, but people still get it.
Yes.
That's the great thing.
Exactly. So you are perhaps the most famous guest we've ever had on the Big Show.
That is terribly sad, and it's a good thing you're shutting this thing down.
It really is, isn't it? But you and I had a great conversation over drinks one day in downtown Toronto at the Scene and Be Seen restaurant Earl's about the importance of digital media and the content creation that you do. And one of the things that we never did was really put out content on more than a weekly basis. If we really wanted to make our mark in the world of YouTube, Twitter, and Facebook, we would have had to have been putting out content a lot more frequently. Am I right?
Absolutely. You know, what's really weird about not just social media, but digital media in general is that it's like people are consuming stuff constantly all the time now, right? They're just consuming, so much music and video content. And it reminds me of like way back in the like late 90s. I used to do jingles, radio jingles and music beds for radio jingles. And I wanted to sell them through MP3s, but no radio station was interested. They were like, MP3s? No, the quality's not nearly broadcast quality. And it was, I mean, that's a valid argument at the time. But I remember reading an article and it was a guy who's like, can you make money as a musician doing downloads only? And as opposed to selling, you know, records or CDs. And he said, after he did like a 6-month trial, and he said, well, after that was done, he's like, yeah, you can. As long as I make an album a week, I'll be fine. And of course, that's unrealistic. But I mean, you really have to, like, you know, I'll do videos that get 100,000 or 1 million views or something. And then 5 days later, people are like, are you done making videos? You're not making any more?
Right.
And you're like, come on, man.
They don't know you exist anymore because the algorithm decided.
That's right. Exactly. Exactly. I've disappeared. This show isn't helping.
You know what? It hasn't helped anybody.
Why do you think Alan's pulling the plug?
Despite our best efforts, you should see. Well, I've never seen them. So I'm trusting Michael. You should see our accounts receivable and accounts payable. It's not good. And you should see our downloads. And, you know, one of the things we don't have
Hey, we hit 1 million downloads.
No, I mean, on a regular week by week episode basis.
It only took us 8 years.
I know. But what I'm saying is that we didn't have a lot of downloads, but we have an extraordinarily engaged audience. And that's what you want in the age of podcasting. You want engagement versus overall numbers. And I agree. You know, every week there were 3,000 people that would follow us to the ends of the earth. And you cannot ask for the support that those 3,000 people gave us was just outstanding.
Absolutely. And I totally agree with you. And I think that, you know, and I don't know if any of you guys, maybe you hate her. I don't know. I don't hate her. But it reminds me of, we did this live stream on Fridays and we did it for 4 years. And I was absolutely convinced that I was going to just kill the live stream. And because it was like, compared to the other numbers from a brand perspective, it was like, I can't sell this to anybody. No one's going to buy it because, you know, 6,000 people watch over the course of, you know, 72 hours. And it's not enough to sort of generate any real business excitement.
Sidebar, everybody who needs to know this, the images behind Brittlestar there are of people who do in fact watch his Friday morning show. They send in the photos, they get put on the
Those are just the Fridge Friday winners. If you're not on there, you're not a winner. But I remember reading Denise Donlan's book, and she was talking about how she was hired to do the CBC radio thing and shutting down a bunch of places. And she said, well, I want to go to these places before I shut them down. And I tell this, I told this story to my wife, Shannon, who then told it back to me when we were deciding what to do, and to sort of underline the value of a dedicated audience. And so Denise goes off somewhere down east, and she's up in some town hall thing. They're talking about axing the local CBC station. And some older woman stands up and says, will you be getting rid of Birdline? I'm like, Birdline? They're like, what the hell's Birdline? So Denise leans over to the person from town. Is like, what the hell's Birdline? And, well, it's this half-hour program that comes on where we have ornithologists on, and people call in and mimic the calls of the birds they've heard in their backyard. The ornithologist then says, oh, that's a woodpecker, that's a blue whatever. And she's like, no, we're not going to get rid of Birdline. So
because that's why the CBT exists.
Exactly.
Hey, Alan, you know as well as I do, in small town Canada, the radio station particularly, and I'm sure the TV station too, the radio stations have got a very different programming slate than major market radio. Yes. One of the most popular shows on the small town radio station that I got my first on-air start with was the Swap Meet, where if you had something you wanted to sell pre-eBay, you would call up the DJ on a Sunday morning and tell him that you got a lawnmower for sale for $10.
Oh, listen. And at CJRL in Kenora, we did Swap and Shop twice a day for 15.
Twice a day.
Twice a day for 15 minutes each day, Monday through Friday. And it was like, hello, Swap and Shop. Yes, I've got a pair of tires for a 1955 Fargo half ton. They're $25. That's $25 for a couple of tires for a 1955 Fargo half ton. Call this number. 705-622-4545.
Right. The logistics were pretty incredible because when you put something up in the swap shop, you got a number associated with it. And then someone who was interested in buying it would have to call the station with the number, and then that would connect people.
That's right. You would call the if you missed the number, there was always somebody there. You were supposed to transcribe the phone numbers and then give it to the receptionist, and then she would answer anybody calling in to buy those items.
It's crazy. It would never happen now. It would never happen now. I just see like Chef
What
Mike
do you mean
saying
it would never happen now?
It wouldn't happen now.
It still happens in small town radio.
I don't think it does. I don't think people can follow that many links in a chain anymore. But I can see Chef Mike saying in the comments that CKNX funeral announcements at 12:35, that happened in Stratford as well on CJCS. It was the most popular radio show they had on the air.
It was.
I seriously considered killing my parents just to get on it, just so I can get a leg up.
We used to have it at CJRL at 12:37 every weekday, and local funeral report, and you would play this dirty. You play this dirgy funeral music on an organ, and then you would try to read this obituary without cracking up.
Yes.
And of course, there was a guy I was working with named Ted. And Ted would come in, and I remember one day he was wearing an Alien, the movie Alien. He was wearing an Alien knockoff T-shirt that said, "In space, no one can hear you fart."
No, he's not wrong.
And he walked in as I was doing the funeral announcement, and that was it. I was gone.
Okay, I've got a similar story. I mentioned it before I get into mine. This is my first on-air job, the mighty 560 CFOS in Owen Sound, Ontario. Join us Monday to Friday, 1:30 to 2 for Pilot.
Wow.
They're still doing it, man. And Chef Mike Benninger, who's the one who sort of got us down this path, I think he did something a little earlier, and Sean Jate pointed it out. So I think now is, considering this is a Zoom call, that it is appropriate that anyone who now has a cat, they are obligated to retrieve their feline and show the rest of us their
preferably ginger, actually. Preferably a ginger cat.
A ginger, well,
preferably.
You're going to be racist about it, fine.
There you go. So, Michael, I grew up in Owen Sound.
Oh, I'm so sorry to hear that.
I know, same here. So, Dial Deal for me was like every single day. But the most fun I ever had was living near Wingham, Ontario with 920 CKNX.
Yes.
1240 every day was... What?
CKNX was like the evil end radio station in Owen. We hated those assholes. They were bastards, every last one of them.
So CKNX, the funeral announcements on every day at like 12:35, and it was Johnson, Larry, Stephen Johnson.
Suddenly,
age 104, daughter of June, wife of Brenda.
Yeah.
Forget this story. Where's your cat?
Randy's
got his cat.
Come here. This one guy here, this is Cinnamon. He's like he's like 19, and he's old, and he's crazy. Scratching my bald head, but we love him though. Right there. Stay smile. Everybody, there you go. Okay, Michael, thank you for the shout out from the Health and Tech for Teens from last week. We gave 47 units out to the public.
Nice.
47 computers.
Everything from single mothers trying to finish high school, kids I got one guy one woman called me in tears. Her father, the kid's father sold the computer to buy weed. So a lot of stuff got done. My corporate sponsors at Siemens and Dell and CFCC and Outsource IT were fantastic. There's the phone to this moment. There are still people calling in every single day. We're not changing the world, but we're making one small part just a bit less shitty, and that's a good thing. And thanks for your plug. We very much appreciate that.
Fantastic, and I hope that all of that came through for you as well. And because as you point out, not only do you have to deal with kids in this province and who don't have a computer, but when they get that computer, they still don't have internet access, and it's the kind of thing that we need.
Working on that.
Excellent. So Chef Mike Benninger, thank you so much for being such a big fan of the show and for helping us out over the course of the years. I want to say the same to Grant Ridge. Is Grant with us here today? I asked him to tell us what his favorite part. He says he can't narrow down a specific podcast or guest, Alan, that was the best or a highlight. He says for him, it was the interplay of two friends talking about whatever they enjoyed.
Aw.
That was a bit of a smart ass snark laugh. What was that all about?
Oh, it was a genuine.
Oh, okay. All right. And is that not the secrets to this industry? When I first got into the business, I used you among 2 or 3 other broadcasters as sort of my template for my work. And the thing I took away from you was, even when you were clearly reading a script, and clearly meaning I knew that because I was in the business, you never sounded like you were reading. You always sounded like you were talking to the person who's listening.
That's what I tried to do from the very, very beginning. And I'm glad it worked. And now I lured you into this business, and now you're doomed.
You played a big role in it. Absolutely, you did. And so thank you for that. Again, like the guy I job shadowed, who's like, are you sure you want to get into this line of work? Jeremy Porter says, I really do learn a lot from your programs. I love hearing about AR, VR, gaming, job trends via tech, automation, self-driving cars, robotics, and, well, most things minus sex bots.
You know, that's going to be the sad thing, because even though you and I have our separate projects that will no doubt grow and go on to do great things, there is no place, no platform for us to engage in our sex bot chat anymore.
Yeah. You know what? We brought on Laura DiCarlo from the Laura DiCarlo company to talk about, sex bots ostensibly, and you never brought it up.
Because I was still so incredibly intimidated by her, because I ran into her at CES. And if you saw my Instagram post of one of her devices, it scarred me. And I, whenever I saw her, I kept thinking,
Hey, hang on, what was the device that scarred?
Oh, it was.
I want to look this thing up.
Oh yeah, it was kind of like a rabbit. And
Alan texted it to me at like 2:00 in the morning when you guys were down at CES.
And did you pick up?
I screamed at my phone.
Okay, all right.
Where is this? Yeah, it's the curved one.
Yeah,
that one.
And that little thing moves.
See the
little,
no. See, you just go.
No. Both parts move.
Side.
Wow, that thing is huge.
Yeah, go to see the little bump. The little bump on the
like that looks nice and small and discreet, but
no. She
like a Buick.
She had that. She held that in her hands in front of me, and it was like,
It's only $290
US.
They have 4 interest-free installments.
But wait, order now, and
everyone knows that when it comes to things like a car, you could put it on a lease. You could go to the bank and get a car loan. And the worst thing that could possibly happen is you have car trouble while still paying down the car.
Right.
Could you imagine being on 4 interest-free installments of $72.50 and the thing dies?
No,
now you're paying for a toy that you're not even using.
Back up. You're buying a vibrator on time. Let's just let that sink in. You're buying a vibrator on time.
I think what I'm going to miss most about the dynamics between you two is it's like you both have a quality to your voices. It's sort of like a guy beside you going, come here, I want to tell you something. And you're on either side. And then when you start talking about consuming vibrators, it's too much.
It is too much.
Mm.
We have long ago expanded past any boundaries personally and professionally we may have had before.
It had been suggested to me that I put together a blooper reel of outtakes of
that
Alan
would
Cross comments.
That would be career ending.
Yes. Oh my God, yes. Every once in a while I would send something to Vanessa and go,
should I include this?
Include this? And she'd go, and then I'd send it to you. And you'd go, absolutely, no problem. And I'm like, oh, I don't know. And in broadcasting, there's a phrase that goes that everybody uses: when in doubt,
leave it out. Yeah, well, I don't think we did that too much. I mean, I trusted you to edit everything into a non-litigious, non-libelous, non-slanderous way. So far, we haven't been sued, although we have had our problems with various online platforms and takedown notices.
I'm going to look up the email I got from Sting's people.
Oh,
yeah.
I just recently found that. I had it on my phone just the other night.
Oh, did you really?
I reached out to them to see if
you would come on for the last show.
Yeah.
You're kidding.
One last fucking Hail Mary, right? We got to do it.
This is why Vanessa is the best. For the record, this is why. For all of you out there in Radio Land, this is why.
Agreed.
I had actually thought I had made a major mistake. His real name. What is his real name, Alan?
Gordon Sumner.
Sumner, exactly. I asked, has Mr. Sumner even heard of us? And when I got like a very terse response, I'm like, oh shit, did I get his real name wrong? Could you imagine that? So okay, so here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to show you the original. Oh, I can't show you the original email. That would be wholly inappropriate.
Hey,
For the
you look for that. Let me tell you something.
Okay.
Did you know that my uncle, my mom's brother, first name basis with Sting?
What?
What?
Yes.
Wait,
This
what?
whole
How-
We
time?
found
No.
out about this on the
Why are we
finale.
learning this now, Sean?
Do you
Which
think
na-
I'm?
Why?
I only ever used that name drop once, and it was
Which
to get
name?
an autographed poster of Sting for a girl I liked in high school,
Did he
Oh
sign
my
it Gordy?
God.
who
Really?
is now married to a woman.
Well, then it clearly didn't work out too well.
Yeah,
for
no,
you.
I dropped it, so that's why I didn't want to do it again. I didn't know what would happen.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
Of all the things.
Of all the things.
So we had said that the world's most popular podcast with Alan Cross and Michael Hainsworth, the musical guest each week was Sting. And I expected at any moment to get a takedown notice from Sting's people. Instead, it took how long? Let me pull up the date on
this
this.
is years.
It was August 4th, 2018. We were 6 years into the show, and I get, I notice you're promoting an upcoming performance by him on your August 26th podcast. They were very polite, yet we are unaware of when and where this performance was done. Would you kindly shed some light? Which was their discreet way of going, what the fuck are you people doing? And as you can tell, I was waiting for this email to come for years. And I had written so much in response, expecting, and at the end, thank you for your humor and patience. And at the very end of all of this, saying, listen, I know that we're just goofing around here, and if you really want us to stop, we'll stop. And their answer was very specific. We appreciate the detailed response and are fine for it to carry on. That is literally the extent of the email.
Yeah. Well, we gave somebody in Sting's management office a little bit of a laugh. So
My uncle wrote that response.
I man, oh man. So yeah, so it was really awesome that we actually, and I had actually followed up with did Mr. Sumner know anything about the show? Blah, 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 blah. Crickets. So we're out of luck on that.
yeah, and even when his musical came to town, we tried to get somebody in or go to see him, and it didn't work.
Yes. And yeah, Amber, you're right. My email is as long as one of your articles.
Not that that's a bad thing.
No, exactly.
Necessarily. I mean, it worked for you,
Yeah.
right? They didn't sue our asses or anything.
Yeah.
Right. And I expected something to come down on it. I expected them to be like really upset. And quite frankly, the reason why I chose Sting was twofold. One, I had our ace announcer, Andrea Ruse, voice like 36 different musical guests. And the plan was every week it would be a new musical guest, and then we wouldn't mention the musical guest at all during the actual podcast, and we would just pretend nothing had happened. But I got a little lazy, and so it just ended up being Sting. And then I thought, wouldn't it be something if like it blew up and Sting threatened to sue us, take my house, take my child? This would be a huge social media event. This would put the podcast on the map.
Yeah, never happened. Just
So wait,
light inquiry.
Michael, were you willing to risk your family for this?
Yes, I was willing to put my child up just for a goddamn Cross podcast.
Oh my God. Okay. Thanks for clarifying.
Well, you got to do what you got to do in this digital age. Am I right? What
Right.
happened? What happened to Stuart?
You're absolutely
Stuart?
right.
See, I'm incorporated, so they would simply come after my business and leave my house and my wife and my dogs alone.
Sweetie,
your
it's
call
for the
on
good
this?
of the show. It's for the good of the show. Just go.
Yes, exactly. Sean, what is this reference? Is Alan going to go 3 for 3 on vagina stories?
Oh, I need one more?
Yeah, the last two podcasts,
I go
broken off in a Raffi interview. You
Yeah.
broke off into a. You know what? Now seems like a good time to talk about female anatomy.
I've been married for 30 years. I've been with my wife for 32 years. I take my fun where I can get it. I do, by the way, have a story, and it has nothing to do with anything that we're talking about, but it really made me laugh. I don't know if you realize this or not, but the British TV show Spitting Image is coming back October the 3rd.
From the 80s?
From the 80s. And there is out there, if you care to Google it, a trailer for this coming up. And of course, Spitting Image is puppets. And these puppets are caricatures of real people, and they skewer these real people. For example, in the trailer, there is a shot of Gwyneth Paltrow. And she says, if you love my smells like my vagina candle, you'll love my new product, anus oil. And she starts rubbing it on her face. I lost it.
Good night, everybody.
And that's a wrap, folks. Thanks for coming to the show tonight.
Oh, that was great. So 3 for 3.
Yeah, there we go.
Yeah, good. Thank you.
There it is.
That's what I was looking for. Team spirit.
People don't understand that there's actually a checklist on the screen in front of me, and it says vagina reference number 1, vagina reference number 2. So tick, 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 we're done.
You do that too, Stuart, right? Like your Friday morning fridge show, right? It's all about vaginas. Those are vagina photos in the background, is it not?
And yeah, and I actually have a tattoo of check boxes, and it's just I use a dry erase marker instead.
Work smarter, not harder.
That's right. That's right. It's all about cost cutting.
Oh, man. Ann Kaminer is a longtime fan of the show and a writer at one point as well. And I actually went to college with her, and she asked me if I've managed to track down Steve Lancashire. Ann, turn on your microphone there. You've got to tell everybody who Steve Lancashire
please,
is.
I am out of the loop on this one.
So Steve was a fellow student at Humber College in radio broadcasting. And I think he was a ballet dancer before that, Michael. At some point, anyway.
Yeah. If he was referring to ballet dancing, he was referring not to the ballet dancing we're talking about. It's completely different. Anne brings up Steve Lancashire, Alan. He and I went to college together along with Alan, with Anne. And this guy was a huge fan of Rush. Such a fan that he decided, like every other student in the broadcasting program, myself included, that he was going to change his name for radio. Now, you've changed your name for radio, am I correct?
Just to get rid of the ethnicity, yes.
Was that your call, or did somebody else make that call?
Somebody else made it happen.
Tell us
what happened with George?
How did that happen?
Well, back in the day, it was you had to have an easily pronounceable non-ethnic name if people were going to remember you. And I was told 20 minutes before my first shift at this radio station that I had to come up with something. And I just happened to be holding a pair of Koss headphones in my hand. And I thought, oh, okay, I'll just add an R and there we go. And for the first while, I spell it with a K. And then that got transliterated into a C when I got a job at CFNY.
And my favorite CFNY Alan Cross story is the ruckus that was raised when promos went on for days and days and days in the lead up to Easter, where the intern on the morning show, Danger Boy, was going to be nailed to a cross.
Yes.
And for days they talked about, you got to come down and join us at Yonge and Dundas, where Danger Boy is going to be nailed to a cross.
Yeah. So this was Humble and Fred. The Archdiocese of Toronto was absolutely beside themselves. And they had to figure out a way to get out of this. So what they thought at the very last second, somebody came into the studio and said, stand there with your arms held out. Okay. So I did. Okay, what's this for? Never mind. Thanks. And then the very next day, I realized that I'd become part of this prop. So I had no idea in the whole thing.
So they nailed Danger Boy to a cardboard cutout of you.
Yes, that's right. That's right. Not my proudest moment, but it was something that actually saved the radio station from all kinds of legal woe.
Now, Steve Lancashire changed his name for radio as well at the campus radio station, but he changed it every single
Shift.
Big fan of Geddy Lee. So one year it was one shift it was Steve Geddy, and then it was Geddy Lancashire, and then at that point you start to get into these weird permutations of all of that. And I asked him one day, I said, "Why do you keep changing your name?" And he admitted, "Because after the shift I go to the campus pub, and I can't remember my name the next day." And he disappeared halfway through the radio broadcasting program to work in Huntsville, Ontario. He was filling in on a mat leave, and he just never came back.
Yeah.
And we were all like, whatever happened to that guy? So Anne and I can imagine others, George Strombolopoulos was in our class as well, all wonder whatever happened to that guy. Now, Stuart Reynolds, your name is Brittlestar because you got into music before you got into what you're doing.
Well, it's funny because I changed my name to Stuart Reynolds. Brittlestar is the name that my parents arrived from Scotland on the boat, and they were like, let's never change this. And I felt I had to change it, but then I ended up going back to my roots. Yeah, it's funny because we were filming yesterday, and it was with people I hadn't spent time with in person before, and they were like, "Hey, Brittlestar." "Oh, sorry, Stuart." And I was like, no, just stay on brand. Just keep on brand. No one needs to know my real name. No one cares who Stuart Reynolds is. Just stick to Brittlestar. It's fine.
Nobody calls Bono Paul Hewson.
And that's exactly what I told them. And they all said to me, "Who's Bono?" And then I see some U2. And they're like, "Who's U2?" Because they're all in their 20s and they have no idea.
Right.
Yeah.
They're all in their 20s and have no idea.
All they know is that they opened their iPod one day and there was a free U2 album on there.
Exactly. They like, oh God, that's right. It was it's like it's the same as like Doofenshmirtz from like Phineas and Ferb or something. They hate is a bad guy, or sorry for you older people, Gargamel from the Smurfs. But it's like I said in a conversation yesterday, I referenced David Byrne in regards to his quote about if you want people to remember you, wear the same clothes every day. And this was like back in Stop Making Sense time. And they went, David who? I said, he's from the Talking Heads.
The what?
Nothing
Crickets.
at all. And these people are like late 20s. Crazy.
You know what? They go and stand in the rock and roll corner. There's no excuse for not knowing.
No, I agree.
One of our longtime writers on geeksandbeats.com has his own podcast. Shane Haniff joins us now as Shane Fame Alexander. Shane, how's the podcast coming along?
It's good, man. And I have to go thank you guys for the long journey I've had under your guys' learning tree. If it wasn't for you guys, I don't think I would be able to do my podcast. And I'm just starting, kind of breaking news. I'm just starting to get a little crony behind me that I'm doing her podcast coming up soon under the Fame and Friends umbrella. And
you're starting an entire industry within your
I am starting a whole universe.
Awesome. That's fantastic.
So but yeah, it's mainly because of our chats in the newsroom and what I learned from you guys and stuff. So thank you for that.
Hey, look out Marvel, look out DC.
Look out Marvel, look out DC. Now, Shane, your podcast is geared towards personal growth. Something that is recently of particular interest to me. COVID-19 has given us all an opportunity for expanding our horizons. Tell us a little bit about the show itself.
So Shower for the Soul was actually named from a book that I was going to write when I was a teenager about my trials and tribulations as a teenager. And it was about mental health. And then it kind of evolved into lifestyle and different news stuff. And then when I was on hiatus, I did Rinse, which was Facebook Live. Sorry, Rinse is a news doc kind of style. And I'm sure you, Mike, know about this as a radio guy, a radio nerd. You like to test your styles with production, especially when it comes to news. So I've always wanted this like Vice type of radio, 10-minute, fast, in your face type of CKLW type of news doc. And that's what Rinse is. And it's been fun. I've been, it's a lifehood dream, and it's been cool.
All right. Now, Shane Allen mentioned specifically the Big Eight, which, if you're a radio nerd, you know very much what, the 2020 news, the Big Eight kind of environment was all about.
Yes. Am I supposed to explain this now?
I was going to set you up to let you do it, man.
Okay. Big Eight was CKLW in Windsor, Ontario. They were what was called a 50,000 watt clear channel radio station at 800 on the AM dial. They could reach somewhere between 35 and 38 U.S. states with their signal. Their main market was Detroit, but they also got into Cleveland. They also got into Cincinnati. They also got into Chicago. They got into a whole lot of places. And they had a music director by the name of Rosalie Tremblay. And Rosalie was considered to be the most influential, certainly one of the most influential tastemakers and music directors in the entire North American radio industry. So much so that Bob Seger wrote a song about her called Rosalie, in hopes that one day Rosalie would add one of Bob Seger's records to the playlist at CKLW.
She is also responsible for bringing Motown to radio, because CKLW, being in Windsor, Detroit, would broadcast into Detroit, but the Detroit radio stations were too racist to play black musicians, so it took Rosalie playing the Supremes, all of those other magical bands of the Motown era, before the Americans woke up to what was happening in their own city of Detroit.
Yeah, pretty much. CKLW also pioneered a different news style, a different jock style, different programming style. If we want to get under the hood of this, a different way of creating clocks for your rotations. It was a really groundbreaking radio station, had a very good run, and there were a lot of really talented people who worked there over the years.
I was going to try to look up what they call an air check for 2020 news. It was called 2020 news not because of the vision, but because they did it at 20 minutes past the hour and 20 minutes to the hour, because they recognized that anybody who was listening to any other rock and roll radio station at the start and the 30-minute mark would end up having to listen to somebody else's news, so they changed the channel. So they put the newscast somewhere else. And to Alan, to your point, because all of the DJs were talking like this, they made the news people do it too. And the way you did it in news was you really ramped up. Again, it'd be tough to find it out of the blue, but Grant Hudson, Lee Marshall, these guys did the news, and it was done in that shock value, just like the DJs. Like, there was this horrible story about a man who would come home and had beaten his family to death with a baseball bat.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, the genuine Louisville Slugger. He batted 1,000 on her head. She's dead. Like, that was the way they did it. But that was the way
strained through the grill of a 57 Chevy.
Yeah, well, we used in news a lot of the 2020 news stuff. We would take it down a bunch of notches, but the one that really stuck in my head and I used all the time was this was a horrible story about a tractor trailer truck hauling something, and a kid ran in front of it, and they had eyewitness accounts. And this is how the news item started. It was, there he was, a big steel hauling man sitting in the rig of his truck crying. And then they roll the clip of someone, an eyewitness. And it was that set up and punch you in the face with the clip that really stuck with me through my entire 680 news career.
The whole idea was to make the news as entertaining as the music and the DJs. And sometimes you had to go places.
Yeah. So we went lots of places on Geeks and Beats with we called him our Starfleet Bureau Chief. Derek Dresser joins us now, and he joins us with a lot of that geekitude behind him as well. Derek, thank you for joining us, and thank you for everything you contributed in the Star Trek universe over the course of Geeks and Beats.
Well, thank you, guys. Thank you for everything. Just thanks for inviting me along for the ride. It's been a lot of fun, and we're going to miss you guys.
Oh, listen, we're not going anywhere. Michael's got all his stuff. I've got all my stuff. You know what?
Together.
Well, this is nothing. We haven't talked about who gets custody of the interns.
Do you want him? I don't want him.
Am I the intern?
What do you plan to do with Sean?
I'm keeping Amber. Amber is a keeper for me, so you can't have her.
Oh, I've got that on the record then, eh?
You did?
How much are you paying her?
Same as you.
I don't know.
Dads, I would like to have a conversation later on.
Well, you know,
I love you both equally. I will find ways.
All right,
I will find ways.
All right.
Yeah, well, see, this is the thing, right? Is that okay? So then I guess this sort of brings us to that sort of next point. And I'm trying to do this little thing here. There we go. Okay. All right. So you've got all these things that you're doing, but I got a few things that I'm doing as well.
So you've made. All right, fine. Go ahead.
Yeah. So back in 2016, I had this thing called Where's My Jetpack, which I launched because I was expecting at any moment for CTV to hand me a pink slip, and I figured I needed something outside of traditional television. And so I launched that, and then I never got that pink slip, and Geeks and Beats took off even more, and I sort of put it on the back burner. But I have messaged all of the members of the World's Worst Intern program, Alan, and to answer your question about who gets them, here's the answer. I said, here's what I'm going to do. Once Geeks and Beats is done, I'm going to hijack the feed and launch Where's My Jetpack using the Geeks and Beats iTunes account and the Patreon account. And if you are here for Alan and you're not here for me, I will not be the least bit offended if you unsubscribe.
Well, I wish you all the best. Go ahead, subscribe.
Wow. Sean, did you hear some sarcasm in that?
No.
Okay, all right. I was worried.
It did. It sounded.
Wow.
Oh, you know what? Okay, no, never mind.
It's a soju, isn't it?
No, it's not the soju. I'm just thinking that the 30th, the premiere of season 32 of The Simpsons is on now.
Oh.
Are you saying
I was hoping for another vagina story, but whatever.
We don't know what The Simpsons is covering tonight.
Could be vaginas, Alan. You could be missing some four-fingered vagina. Well, that sounds terrible. I don't know where I was going with that.
Oh,
what did you
stop.
just stop?
Yikes.
You know what? Take those 4 fingers out of your mouth.
Yeah, tell me about it, especially under COVID, right?
Okay.
So Geeks and Beats will what I'm going to do is I'm not going to hit the charge patrons for this post for the first 3 episodes of Where's My Jetpack, because my wife and I have this deal where whenever we watch a new show, we always give it 3 episodes before deciding whether or not to pull the plug on it.
Yes.
So that just seems reasonable.
It does. Good luck.
Thank you. So the show Where's My Jetpack is about the technologies that we were promised as kids, what we actually got, and what we're getting next. And for someone like you who grew up in the jet age, right? Like, you were promised a lot that you never got.
Well, I have been sitting on the front porch watching bad science fiction. And the shows that I've been watching is the Jerry Anderson, Sylvia Anderson UFO TV series from 1970, which promised a whole bunch of interesting things by 1980. Never happened. And I've also been rewatching Space 1999 and noticing that many of the things that apparently were ready to go in 1999 did not happen. So, and then of course I watched 2001 whenever it's on TV, which means nothing is with all those promises have not been made.
But we did get some things. Like, for example, there's so much talk about how, we were promised robot butlers, but we never got a robot butler to answer the door for us and do all the cooking and do all the cleaning. But we kind of did.
Well, I got a robot.
Exactly. The robots we were expecting were a single solitary robot that we would give a name to. But in reality, what we ended up getting was a bunch of single purpose robots. The one for the front door for the doorbell, the one for the carpet, the one for the hardwood floor as well. All of those types of things. We got them. We just didn't get them the way we expected.
No, and nothing looks like Data, and nothing looks like Robbie the Robot.
And would you really actually, at the end of the day, want that? A Robbie the Robot, a big machine lumbering
absolutely
around?
Not. Absolutely not.
Yeah. So what have you got going on next? Because we got one comment here in the chat. What are we going to do as far as getting updates on sex bots from Alan Cross?
Oh, okay, I'm going to have to think about that. I do not want to disappoint anybody, so maybe I will figure out a way to incorporate sex bots into my everyday life. I don't know. I have no
the ongoing history of sex bots.
Yeah.
That seems problematic.
It does, doesn't it?
I don't know. I think Chorus
Just
Energy
a
might have a
little.
bit of a problem with it, but other than that, I think we're okay.
Eh.
Stuart, any thoughts on this matter here? How does Alan monetize sex bots?
I think the biggest problem you're both going to have is trying to find that will they, won't they energy you guys have currently. And I think that's going to be your biggest challenge. I don't know how you're going to recreate that, but maybe with sex bots, it's more of like a, yeah, they probably will.
I'd never looked at it that way, Alan.
It's this is why I'm going to miss Brittlestar. He does think a little weird.
Outside the box?
I was going to say with the wrong side of his brain.
Oh, I thought you were going to go down another vagina.
Isn't there already a sex bot brothel somewhere? I feel like we covered that at some point.
We did cover
I
that.
don't know. Alan?
I don't know.
I feel like I wrote about it.
I somehow believe that there is, and I don't know where, but I don't think it's in North America.
No, I
No,
feel like
I
it's
think this is-
Japan.
No, I think it is in Toronto.
Oh my God, you're right.
Right, yes.
You're right,
Yeah.
Vanessa. They were talking about trying it there. That's right.
Yeah.
Like a year and a half or so ago.
Yeah,
Fine.
we're Googling this.
Oh,
Let's do it.
Yeah, we've got to
Sex
Google this. I
bots.
mean,
Are you in
what is our
incognito?
reputation
Is that
at this
a-
point if we don't?
Would that not be shut down
no,
because
no,
of
no.
COVID?
Go back
dear.
one. Go back one. I saw it. Second, there it is. Toronto Businessman. There you go.
Blog TO's on it.
Yeah.
Like
Blog TO.
Oprah on a ham.
When was this posted?
This is a
Before
few
the
years back, I
pandemic.
remember.
2018, August 25th, 2018.
Definitely before the pandemic, Sean, you're right.
Or adults
Yeah,
slated open at
absolutely.
43
Yeah, I remember
32 Young Street.
I remember
Yeah.
that we were actually, wondering who would do the maintenance and cleanup.
Ugh.
No, you.
But it would be-
By the way,
wondering.
wait a second. By the way, I do have a story. This is out of Vietnam. A woman was busted selling used recycled condoms. She was
Yeah.
paid
I
seven.
saw that too. That's gross.
Every kilo was 17 cents. She would wash them and then resell them.
Do we trust that she actually rewashed them?
Yes. Well, I don't know.
Really?
Who are you asking?
I'm just
You
telling
need to direct that question.
So your sex bot brothel, Alan, it still looks like it might be coming soon.
No
Hey,
pun intended. Haha.
But before you go for your appointment, you might want to go to the Hollywood Nails and Waxing because, you got to look your best. Am I right or am I right?
would
Yeah,
this
I
be
know.
a COVID-proof business? Because really, they can't. The sex box can't get COVID, right? Can they?
Can they?
But they can get
I mean, it depends
computer
on what
viruses.
They can do that, but what's the latest guidance on aerosolized transmission? Because in my country, they can't figure it out from day to day because
Alan,
I mean, never mind. Yay, everybody's wonderful.
what's
And
going on
nobody
with-
lies ever about anything.
what's going on with your sex bot when it's aerosolizing?
Yeah, that sounds like you should return it.
I think this is an excellent point to end the big show. What do you say? Because Alan's already, getting itchy about watching the new Simpsons. This was always the thing, by the way, behind the scenes. You always got itchy around this time. if
Yeah,
you didn't
I did.
wrap
I mean,
things
I'm good for about an hour and then I lose focus.
So, Alan, I want to say thank you to you. One of the questions that I got from one of the patrons was, how did you, get together and do this thing in the first place? Your wife and my wife knew each other, and we all got together at a dinner one night, and you out of nowhere said, we should do a podcast.
Yeah, because it was starting to take off, and I thought, well, I need somebody who I could work with and somebody who knows what they're doing, and you were the only person.
So we ended up going, you know what, that sounds like a great idea. Let's do it. And, 8 seasons later, which is kind of funny because we went on hiatus for season 7, but we just claimed that it was a season that existed. So for all intents and purposes, 8 years we've been doing this show.
Yeah, it's been a very long time, which is a really good run. I think I've said this before in some other discussions that if you're in a band, the average lifespan of a band is 7 years, from getting together to getting good to reaching a peak and then deciding that it's time to leave when the audience still wants more.
So we made it a year more than that.
We did.
That's awesome.
I mean,
thank you very much. This has been a tremendous experience for me to work with you, as well as just to be able to do this kind of thing on a regular basis.
It is. And I've learned a lot from you. Who sent me the Rickroll?
All right.
Dr. Proxima. I'm trying to be serious
All
here.
right. I'm kicking them out. That's it. He's gone.
Okay. No, thank you very much. You've done, again, I have to underscore this. Michael does all the work when it comes to getting everything together and producing everything, posting everything. He does all the work. I just show up to do this, and I'm the guy that's complaining that I don't have enough time to do it. So I feel really bad about that, and perhaps we can do this again in some other form somewhere down the line.
Don't taunt us like that.
I know.
People have said that. People are like, maybe you guys will come back.
If I lose my job, if they don't renew my contract, I'm going to have to find something to. I mean, I'm going to need that $12 a month from Patreon.
Exactly. All right. We'll last check in with Stuart Reynolds, Brittle Star, the internet's favorite dad, who is Mr. Experience when it comes to social media. I'm looking at the streaming here on the YouTube. We got 81 direct playbacks with the average watch time of 9 minutes, 2 seconds. How good or bad is that, Stuart?
That's phenomenal. It's really, really great. And I think you guys have got a great career ahead of you. And I think things are going to work out. They should just keep rolling with this format. It's fantastic.
Okay.
You're digging our grave, are you? Is that what this is?
No, it was the talk about cats, and I miss my 2 cats. They've been dead for a while now, but they're out back.
With the shovel ready to go. I love it.
It's like that Monty Python gag.
Yeah.
It took nice 2 hours to bury the cat. Oh,
they kept me warm.
It didn't.
Yeah, well, they kept me warm when they were alive, and now it's my turn.
So as to the interns, all of you, I can't thank you individually because there's just so many. Thank you so much. It's been fantastic, and you guys have been absolutely great. Victor Biggio, thank you for the thumbs up as well, and to everyone else as well. We have one big thumbs up for everyone. There we go.
There we go.
Thanks, guys. There's the screenshot right there. All the best to you, and thank you for everything, and I hope you'll stick around for Where's My Jetpack. Alan?
I hope you stick around and follow me from whatever I'm doing, journalmusicalthings.com. I'll let you know what's going on with that, and maybe the CFNY documentary that I'm working on, a few other things we'll see.
Thank you so much for everything, Alan.
Thanks, Mike. Appreciate it.